Xin chào các bạn. Thưa các bạn thì học tiếng Anh để làm gì? Nếu mà học tiếng Anh để có được điểm cao thì ai cũng có thể làm được. Bởi vì dù là một học sinh có học lực rất là tệ nhưng mà cũng chắc chắn là cũng sẽ có cách để giúp được bạn có được điểm cao. Chắc các bạn đã hiểu ý của thầy là gì. Chính vì vậy học tiếng Anh quan trọng nhất phải là dùng được và nói được. Theo thầy, tiếng Anh cũng chỉ là công cụ để mà làm việc. Nó giống như là một người thợ xây dùng bay để mà xây nhà vậy. Chính vì vậy, việc nói tiếng Anh lưu loát là một việc rất là bình thường. Quan trọng nhất là các em phải biết cách áp dụng tiếng Anh vào trong cuộc sống và công việc của mình. Mục đích cuối cùng đó chính là giúp cho cuộc sống và công việc của mình trở nên dễ dàng hơn. Từ đó tạo ra thu nhập cao, giúp các bạn kiếm được nhiều tiền và cải thiện cuộc sống của mình. Đó mới thực sự là mục đích cuối cùng của việc học tiếng Anh. Và sau đây sẽ là một video nói tiếng Anh của một học viên của thầy. Em này nói tiếng Anh chuẩn theo giọng Mỹ, bởi vì thầy dạy tiếng Anh theo giọng người Mỹ ha. Xin mời các bạn và các em hãy cùng xem và cùng học với bạn nhé.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Linh. Today, I'll be talking about the issue of race, which has become an immense problem in today's society. We face huge challenges in terms of raising its creation in the first place, and then in dealing with it when it has been created. Now, the mode of nature will be our ideal, a completely statistical system in which no excess waste is generated that can be processed by itself. However, we must approve, despite our apparent intelligence and ingenuity, quite incapable of achieving this. Where did it all go wrong? We have evidence that in Greece and Rome, governments upheld red municipal waste collection, and a huge tonnage amount was identified some years ago in Norway as waste disposal. So, we can see that people have been generating waste for a very long time indeed. However, during the dark ages, sophisticated municipal waste processing disappeared. The medieval answer to waste was to throw it out of the window. But this waste, apart from broken pottery and heavy metal objects, was largely organic. This metal course that could absorb into the environment by the natural process of decay. However, many concerned people, such as doctors, claim that this already health problems, although it wasn't in science producing present evidence of correlation between rubbish and disease, that governments began to see the importance of dealing with the problem effectively. Unfortunately, their response has remained slower than the generation of waste. It is very hard to deal with waste that won't make into the environment, as so many of our metabolism goes for. And that's why the invention of plastic has caused the worst headache for the environment, as more than nature can deal with. In order to address the root of the problem of waste, we need to think about what has made the quantity of waste accelerate growth. I've identified three main reasons as many countries became industrialized. We saw that by the mass manufacturing. This will be enormously damaging, as it has greatly increased the amount of things on the planet surface which don't go away themselves. Closely related to this is packaging. This is a for change when things are wood, but then it's very difficult to do it properly. And the third aspect of the problem has been disposable goods. We have become accustomed to so many things being to use and discard that we find it hard to imagine life without it. And yet we barely have thought of where they go when we do discarding. Right now, let's move on from where this word comes from towards the way it all lies here. Different countries deal with waste differently. Of course, each country also changes what it does. So the figures for waste treatment I've got here are likely to change in the future. Let's look at municipal solid waste or MSW. MSW is important to consider because it's effectively a measurement of consumerism, how much waste people produce, that goes beyond the absolute basic requirements in life to eat and drink. One of the main ways of dealing with MSW is the incineration rate. This is adopted variously around the world. The UK burns relatively little waste compared to the US, while Denmark burns about half of waste, and Japan uses this method for as much as 3/4. This approach goes of course, because an important issue is efficient and clean burning processes. Another major form of waste treatment is using landfills, basically burning the waste in the earth. Currently, this method is the dominant process used in UK at over 80%, and is also better used in Germany and in the US, while densely populated and mountainous countries such as Switzerland and Japan dispose of relatively this waste. A much better way of dealing with waste is to recycle it, turn it back into more things we need. It must be said that much depends here on whatever waste is generated by the recycling process themselves. The UK and Japan have rather poor records in recycling, while Switzerland tops the table in this respect. And reasonably impressive levels are achieved by Denmark and Germany. I really hope that if we are going to hit again 10 years from now, these figures will be much higher. Time and a lot of effort will tell. That's all. Thanks for your listening. Bye.